A 7-year-old pupil at a primary school in Foslers was allegedly raped by fellow learners aged 7 to 9. Today we ask the questions: are children playing up what they are exposed to from their homes, or is it just a simple case of unsupervised access to internet? Good day and welcome to The Insight. My name is Noxolo, Sibiya, and thank you for joining us. Today we'll be discussing a very sensitive issue that's been making headlines these past few months: juvenile rape and aggressive sexual behavior. Though it's been happening for quite some time, the recent incidents have shocked the country. A 7-year-old pupil at a primary school in Foslers was allegedly raped by fellow learners aged 7 to 9 from the same school. In another incident, a similar crime was reported at a Pretoria East primary school where 2 girls were raped and 1 molested on the school premises. Today we ask the questions: are children playing out what they are exposed to from their homes, or is it just a simple case of unsupervised access to internet where children can easily be exposed to aggressive sexual behavior? Joining us in studio is a panel of experts who will be giving more input on the topic. We have psychologist Noxolo. Also joining us is social media expert Lerato Sambo, as well as a representative from the Department of Education, Me Marjorie Masocha. Thank you for joining us. Menomsa, let me start with you. Where do you think aggressive sexual behavior stems from?
Thank you, Noxy, for the invite. Indeed, this is a very serious topic to be discussing. We haven't zoomed into child abuse recently, but because of the incidents that have been highlighted, we tend to think that the problem is huge. But honestly, this has been happening for long. Cases have been going on unreported, or when reported, cases were not taken seriously. But what is shocking now is that the age rate is going down. We are seeing more young kids being exposed to child abuse, which is rape, and children becoming perpetrators as well as victims. So honestly speaking, this has been a long-standing problem in our society today.
And in some of the cases perhaps that you've handled, what would you say are the prominent signs to look for in a child or in children that are most likely to practice these aggressive sexual acts on others?
Unfortunately, human behavior is very unpredictable. You cannot say a child, because they are maybe withdrawn, they are more likely to be abusers. But like I said, this has been a long-standing problem. Unfortunately, today there are lots of other influencing variables that lead children to become perpetrators of child abuse. Like you said, access to internet, pornography, and other things are influencing our kids to become perpetrators of child abuse. Honestly speaking, even innocent ones can still become perpetrators. You can't tell by looking at a child that indeed this one is going to be an abuser.
May I see you agreeing there? Do you, as a fellow or a former educator, are these some of the things that you've noted that you can't really predict whether a child would do some of these things?
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come to give light on what we have. In everyday life, we see learners behaving differently. We see different signs in them. Fortunately, I'm able to see, like if I go inside a class and then I'll find a particular a feature that is standing out, that is supposed to be there. And then when I try to check the child, what happened? Said no, I had this and problem. Then I refer the matter to the school-based support team, where the educators, they take it from there was one incident where a child, just looking at them, I saw the sullen features in the face. And then when I asked, they said, no, I was raped by so and so. That's when we took the matter to the SBST. The SBST phoned the clinic, and then when the child was checked, and then she was found to be bruised all over the body with a green marks all over the body. It's really disturbing.
Now, what's the department doing to ensure that such cases do not occur in our schools?
Yeah, as Norma has already indicated, we cannot rightly so detect who is to do what. What we can say is that the Department of Education has introduced the values in education, where the themes are taken from the Bill of Rights, and then the learners are encouraged on a monthly basis to discuss about those the themes in the Bill of Rights, starting with respect. When we start with respect from January, we have respecting yourself. Automatically, when you respect yourself, people would respect you automatically. And then somebody else decides to take somebody else's dignity. That's violation of human rights. So on a monthly basis, the educators are expected to inform, to write a report on the violations of the especially xenophobia, discrimination, the intimidating cases where our learners are exposed to. Like monthly, we monitor the schools, we check around our schools, we check whether those values are adhered to. But once the values are not inculcated into our learners, then we will never solve our problems in the school community.
Would you say some of these values are perhaps a set of rules that needs to be incorporated with some of the things that you work along with the parents?
Yes, values are cutting throughout, whether in the community, in church, in schools, in different workplaces, in different departments. The values are there, like the lifestyles that we used to have, the honesty, they are in the values. When you are honest, obviously you are going to be accountable. When your parent send you to the supermarket, she or he expects you to come and give a report back. That's being accountable. But the moment you don't do that, you are not being accountable. So the values, they cut through. Like when we give our educators the monthly themes, we also motivate them to give also to their parents, to give also to their churches, because of whatever educators are teaching the learners, that particular education should continue right at home.
Yes.
Because of we parents are not supposed, educators are not supposed to be seeing this particular beautiful bontle, and then the next thing, when and when at home she's something else, not the one in school. So we expect each and every community member to take part in values, to add value to a society, to add value to somebody else's life.
Certainly. Lerato, let me ask you, do you think to some extent social media does contribute to perpetuating some of these acts of rape?
Okay, thank you, Maxi, for having me. Yes, I do agree with you, because now we can see that even in primary schools, they've even installed Wi-Fi. And you know, these kids are born in technology. They even tell their parents at home, I want a smartphone, I want a smartphone. And we don't know what they're doing on their smartphones. So if they have access to smartphones from home and they go to school with them, who knows what they are downloading during break? You know, we can't even monitor that. So it becomes a problem, because if they have access to internet so easily, they can even go anywhere that they want. They can download anything that they want. And obviously, some parents, they think, okay, my child is still too small. He won't have the knowledge to go to the internet and download such things. They think maybe the phone is filled with music and everything, not knowing what the child is up to at night when they are alone in their room with their phone. So I do believe that even social media, it plays a huge role in the way that kids are behaving sexual behavior. And also looking at the fact that even on Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, there are spams that can easily be posted on your timeline, and you tag other friends, which are most of the time pornographic material. So if you have things like that, then social media does play a huge impact in the way that kids behave sexually.
Marjorie, what would you say? I mean, the idea of Wi-Fi and having smartphones was a brilliant idea, but now it comes with disadvantages such as these. How do you think such a thing can be regulated?
Unfortunately, maybe if measures could have been taken before, or maybe checking with educators, because of our learners, before even the Wi-Fi's, they are exposed to bad scenarios at home. We take it like for a learner to draw something that is not taught in class, because through life orientation there are specific things that are taught, but you'll find a learner drawing something else on the chalkboard, and then you ask, where does this type of a thing come from?
I'm gonna have to leave it there for now. We have to take a quick ad break, but do remember to join in the conversation on Twitter at The Insight and on Facebook The Insight. See you shortly.
This is the richest square mile in Africa and the powerhouse of its economy. But it didn't start that way. It started as an answer to a question ordinary people kept asking. Do you know how to make my little today enough for the day I no longer work, or for the day I'm no longer around? That question, which determines someone's reality, should never be answered with theory or opinion. So we built the answer. A place we built with more than just concrete and glass. A place we built with knowledge that got stuck in and built a way to grow people's money in a way no one had thought possible. This became the richest square mile in Africa, the powerhouse of its economy, the day knowledge rolled up its sleeves. Liberty, the advantage of knowing.
Forget the saggy diaper cowboy walk. It's time to dance freely, thanks to new Pampers Cruisers. The first and only diaper that helps distribute wetness evenly into 3 extra absorb channels, so it stays drier and doesn't sag like other diapers. So wiggle it, jiggle it, and do whatever that is in new Pampers Cruisers. Love, sleep, and play, Pampers.
Welcome back to The Insight. We continue our discussion about recent child-on-child rape incidents that have been taking place in some of our schools in the country. Let's take a look at some of your tweets. We have Mr. Ozier that says, it says something about our society. It shows that our parents are not responsible in the upbringing of our children. Menomsa, do you think parents have a role to play perhaps in how children relate to each other sexually?
Yes, to a very large extent. As parents, we have responsibilities towards our kids. For example, Noxy, I cannot crave for pizza if I've never seen it before, if I don't know it. So as parents, we are also responsible for exposing our little kids to things that are not responsible enough for them to be seeing. Unfortunately, also our society, we know that the RDP houses, for example, they are very small places. Kids are sometimes exposed, not intentionally, to adults doing it in the bedroom at night. Unfortunately, I also had a case where a child was complaining that, it's like my mother is showing off now. She has this new boyfriend. Whenever they are making love, she's making so much noise. And it's very sad to hear a child saying that. So as a parent, you need to know what are the boundaries. What are you exposing your little one to? Unfortunately, what they see at home, they will try to practice outside. Long time ago, when we were still young, we were not exposed to such explicit sex at our own houses. Parents back then were very discreet. You didn't even know that there was this sexual act happening. But nowadays, parents are much liberal. I'm not sure, is it our society influencing this laissez-faire kind of attitude towards raising kids? But as parents, we do contribute a lot to what's happening around our kids.
Let me quickly go back to a tweet by @Benny_Recordzo that says some kids are victims, so they are making others victims as well. Do you think that's the case?
Yes, Noxy, because to a certain extent, of course, research has proven that normally abusers or perpetrators were also victims of abuse. Because as a human being, when you go through something as traumatic as child rape, you don't heal from it. It's not like a wound where you'll be healed. So you carry that for the rest of your life. So you have some coping mechanisms. Either you deny that the thing never happened, or you'll act it out. You also want to become an abuser.
Lerato, recent trends on social media of young children, performing sexual deeds. Do you think that perhaps peer pressure has some sort of effect when it comes to sexual relation between young people?
Yes, Noxy, I think it does, because if you look at it, most of the time the videos that we see on social networks are videos that were posted or taken by their peers. Instead of stopping them from doing whatever they're doing, they're condoning it by taking videos and sending it to their friends. So peer pressure plays a big role, because even in other households we can say that, for example, if my parents are strict and I don't watch certain shows and everything, but then at the end of the day, when I get to school and my friend is exposed to those things, she'll be telling me about it, and we will want to experience it, both of us. So yes, peer pressure does play a very huge role.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, Noxy, like each and every child will be influenced. Like there are some things that we normally give to our learners and say, present this matter to like a peer is a better teacher to another peer. When you give positive guidance towards a certain topic, the learner will be so attentive. So it's also easier for them, again, to influence badly. The peers, normally, you always say to your children that whatever you do in darkness with your friends, that is not what I taught my kids. But normally, they would take from their own peers, or, okay, this is the right wrong. Because you will be surprised when sometimes you're called to attend to the matter at school, where your child has violated any of the rights. And then you'll be surprised, oh, is it my child who did this? And I never taught that the child such particular behavior.
Certainly. We always make sure that we expand the conversation to the broader community. So joining us live from Pumzile Primary School in Soshanguve is Masindine Mokora. She will be chatting to the educators there on issues around sexual behavior. Masindi, give us more, please.
We are here at the classroom called Pumzile Primary School, and we are going to talk with the teachers about the juvenile rapes. They're going to give us their insight on what they think and how do they deal with this kind of situations, because children all over South Africa are facing this kind of situation all over the national schools. So then the first question would be, what do you think causes sexual behavior from the learners?
Mostly I think it's TV, that exposed to such things in the TV.
I think it's the background at home. Some of the parents are drunkards, so they do whatever in front of the learners. And others, they sleep with the learners because the house is too small. The RDP house is 1 bedroom, so the learners are sleeping with their parents.
Others taking
Okay, what are the peer pressure? Because some of these learners, when they see the other learners doing 1, 2, 3, they think that is the right thing they must do. So if ever they don't get the support from home, then it means that child will think that what is done by other learners or by other friends, they feel it's a good thing to do.
Okay, so what are the measures that are put into place into the curriculum, the teaching curriculum, to avoid such sexual behaviors, like the behaviors that the kids are showing out?
Okay, we are trying to teach learners facts about how they can avoid this in any way. We are teaching them in their level, we are telling them the very thing they are going to face outside.
Any other measures, maybe by the Department of Education?
I think workshops for parents that are organized by the department.
Our curriculum includes some of the activities, but is at their level, the grade. It means there's a level for teaching the grade 1s up to the level of the grade 2s. It differs according to the age of the learner, but we teach them in life skills.
The response of the parents in the conferences are they good?
It's not that good.
And those parents who are involved are those parents which their learners behave well. Those which we have problem with them, they don't come even when we call them. They are not so active.
Okay. So with sex education, how do you make sure that you don't allow such sexual curiosity, that learners might want to do this and that?
As we said, that the activities are planned well and they are at their level of their age. It depends which grade, it depends by the age of the child.
Okay.
And then I think the parent involvement here is very crucial, because if the learner is told what to do, not to do at home, even at school, it won't be a problem, because for the education of the learner, we need to be three. It's a teacher, a learner, and a parent. So it mustn't be a teacher and a learner, and the parent is not involved. So if it can be two of us, everything will be okay.
There was a discussion with teachers from Kumzile Primary School in Soshangubo Block H. We'd like to thank you very much for your time, for taking your time to speak to us in your busy schedules. We are still talking juvenile rapes. It's back to you, Noxolo, in studio.
Thank you very much, Masindi. That was Masindi Nemokora from Pumzile Primary School. Let's have a quick ad break. We'll have reactions after a while.
This place taught me the greatest lesson. I used to think of it as my playground. Then it became my classroom. It showed me how to grow what I have. To look after what I've got. And to make every move count.
Whatever your needs, bank, invest, insure, prosper. ABSA, member of Barclays.
This is the richest square mile in Africa and the powerhouse of its economy. But it didn't start that way. It started as an answer to a question ordinary people kept asking. Do you know how to make my little today enough for the day I no longer work, or for the day I'm no longer around? That question, which determines someone's reality, should never be answered with theory or opinion. So we built the answer. A place we built with more than just concrete and glass. A place we built with knowledge that got stuck in and built a way to grow people's money in a way no one had thought possible. This became the richest square mile in Africa, the powerhouse of its economy, the day knowledge rolled up its sleeves. Liberty, the advantage of knowing.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Insight with myself, Noxolo, Sibiya. Before the ad break, we saw a clip from Phumzile Primary School teachers who were basically talking about some of the challenges they encounter. And one of them spoke about the same thing you spoke about, poverty, a small house, you know, where you share a room with a mom and a dad. But poverty has always been there. You know, it's always been there, and we know there's always been cases of moms sharing a bed with. How do you think they've always done it in the past? How have they managed to be so discreet? And why is it so difficult for parents now to keep things to themselves? Minamsa, I'll give that to you.
Okay, thank you, Noti. Like the teachers were highlighting some of the common areas that are leading to child abuse. Poverty is one of them. It's been there. Like I said, even child abuse, it's been there. We are thinking that in South Africa we are a unique country, but unfortunately there is a research that was done in Manchester where it shows that child abuse still happens even where we think that it's a first world country, there's no poverty. So there are many other variables that lead to this kind of problem. We cannot say only poverty makes kids vulnerable to being abused or being perpetrators. Also other issues, like we said, Lerato highlighted the influence of media and values as highlighted by Memajiri, that there are a lot of other contributing factors. We don't have to only isolate poverty in this instance.
And Memajiri, would you actually say that these workshops that the teachers were talking about are useful in engaging parents?
Sorry, it depends on a particular school. Like looking at the issue of poverty, right now we have what we call a feeding scheme at schools, where learners are given food during short break, during long break, and also they are provided from the social development, they are provided with a school uniform. So I wouldn't say it's poverty. We grew up in different backgrounds, but we did not allow ourselves to become what some of the generation, the learners are doing right now.
Lerato, do you think that perhaps the sudden vibe in social networks, Wi-Fi, and having access to all these things has sort of created a unruly youth?
Yes, I would say that, because not only talking about rape specifically, but then the other things that they post on their social networks without what can you call it, without
parent supervision.
Yes, parents supervision and all those things. So I guess social network is a problem. It was created to make the world a much easier place, but at the end of the day they didn't actually think about the disadvantages when it comes to kids, because they're too exposed to think that things that they're not supposed to be exposed to at a young age because of social media.
Do you think that social media can actually aid the education process? We've seen in some cases where teachers use Facebook to sort of fast track education and keep on par with the learners. Do you think it can actually be?
It can work and it cannot work, because if we're saying we're giving kids tablets in school and we're going to be reading a specific book from ebooks or something, how is the teacher going to monitor if all those kids are within that ebook site? How is she or she going to know that those kids are actually listening to what she's saying or what he's saying? Because they can be busy with their tablets with other stuff while the teacher is trying to educate them. So it can go both ways. Yes, it's easier if the teacher wants to send out messages. They can create a group on Facebook and WhatsApp and send messages about assignments and stuff like that. But then when it comes to teaching and social network in the same place, I don't think it's a good idea.
Marjorie, part of what the department tries to do is to sort of teach accountability. To whom is this accountability being taught? To the parents, to the kids, to whom?
To each and everyone in the community, as I've already indicated. We've got the rights. Those rights, they go with responsibilities. And then this part of values, they were brought to us from the former Minister of Education, that is Naledi Panda, about how our learners should be responsible. They can be given educators and education, but they also have the right to learn, to follow the instructions on whatever the educators are doing. Going back to that clip, I had like normally we give the schools the monthly themes on which the per month in assemblies, those particular themes that relate to our constitution, where respect normally you'll find that the head of the school is opening the assembly for a particular month, that is during the beginning of the year, where the code of ethics are outlined, where the manner in which each and everybody should behave. Like when we look values it's for everybody, not like myself teaching reacting better than somebody else. Like inside a working environment, we see each other as equals, and we need to respect each other, be it a helper for feeding scheme or a security guard or a cleaner. Everybody must treat each other or one another with respect.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And Menom, so we've heard about these boys being isolated, or some of these boys being suspended from school and pending, obviously, disciplinary processes. Do you think it's wise to isolate these boys from school?
I think we need to come up with proper rehabilitation processes, Noxy, because by isolating these kids does not guarantee that they will be better citizens in future. What we need to look at now is that these perpetrators as well need to be analyzed, or research needs to be done about these kids, because as we said, sometimes the perpetrator are the victims of rape, also the victims of child abuse. So we must go deeper and look at the root of why does a young kid of 7 years think about sexually abusing another child. So there are deeper social issues that are going on there. Instead of locking them out, treating them as criminals, we need to come up with rehabilitation processes for young kids. I know back in the years there were type of these schools where they were called, I know one was called Stout School.
Yeah, reformatories.
Reformatories. So instead of isolating them, treating them, or taking them to prisons, we need to rehabilitate them, because they are also a child who performs abuse or who is also bullying. There is a cry for help. These kids also have serious social problems that need to be addressed. So they are just taking them out in a form of violent behavior, crimes, aggression, and so forth.
Let me read a quick tweet from DJ May that says, "It's a shame what these kids go through, having to be forced to have sex out of their will." Do you think we are judging the perpetrators? Do you think we're putting too much judgment? I mean, how else are we going to have them reinstated into society if there's so much anger towards what they've done?
You know, the issue is that they have committed a crime, which is penetrating a young girl. We always judge the situation by the extent of the crime done. So we don't expect, as society, we don't expect young kids to be already doing such violent crimes, indeed. So that's why we are judging them in that direction. But like I'm saying, we need to look deeper into the issue. Imagine if it's your child, you didn't teach them anything, but they've learned all these other things in their community, in their society, and they commit such a crime. Are you still going to be judgmental as though it's not your child? So once the problem is yours, you look at it in a different light. So we need to also be very much considerate. No parent says, yes, my child, you can go and rape. Nobody wakes up and says that to a child. So it's also a cry for help for these kids.
Now, Marjorie, how do you think we promote, or the department perhaps can promote, freedom of association while we have such, violent acts towards one another? How can a boy now be free with a girl when these things are happening?
In the department, we've got what we have, Men in the Making. It's a program for boys from grade 9 to 12. And we also have the girls' education movement and the boys' education. Those are programs that are owned by the learners themselves. If there are issues around the schools, they identify a particular, like a worrying problem. They identify, they check the particular problem, and then they come up with ways in which this particular problem can be kept. And then after that, they are going to sustain that particular program. And then coming next year, it's another, like maybe it's safety around schools. And then the first one, maybe it's bullying. Then they come up with ways. We've got what we call Youth Citizen Action Program, where the grade 7s and the grade 10s are involved in that particular program, where we see our learners taking ownership of their own programs, and then they address the youth. They come up with the ways in which that particular problem can be kept.
Narada, do you think social media can perhaps assist some of such programs?
Yes, I think so, because it will create, because on social media it's very easy for something to trend. So if you have like a whole lot of people actually initiating this thing on social media, it can go places. I mean, it can be even recognized in other countries where they have the similar problems such as us in South Africa, and we can create a platform for even other kids that were afraid to talk out about certain issues, to create a platform for them to be able to talk about them on social network without them being judged. Because on social network, if you create a movement that is positive, then you're going to get positive response. That's how it is. And if you create a movement that is initiating negative things, then you're going to get negative response. So since it's a positive campaign or campaigns, it can create positive outcomes for every learner.
Positive campaign, positive results. We've almost reached the end of our show. Just to get quick remarks from our panel. May Marjorie?
Thanks, Noxie. Educators are advised to adhere to the values in education. As officials from the department will be coming into schools, as we have already started, we're monitoring the type of behavior, for instance, the preambles, the national anthems, the African Union anthems, the way in which our learners are supposed to be behaving. So they must just adhere to the monthly themes as they are stated, like the respect, social justice and equity, human dignity, democracy, open society, equality, the rule of law, and also accountability. So they must just adhere to that and encourage the learners to debate on those topics monthly. Thank you.
Menomsa?
Thank you very much, Noxie. Child abuse can really result into short and long-term effects on kids. So, such as psychopathology in future, we can have a sick society if we don't take these matters seriously. So, as Marjorie has said, teachers, please enforce that kids know their rights and responsibilities. As parents, we should not also give out our responsibilities to the teachers. We are the primary caregivers. So we need to instill good values. Try to teach our kids from as little as a year old so that they understand what is right and what is wrong. Because it starts with, let me show you mine, I'll show you yours.
Certainly.
So we need to enforce good morals towards our kids and encourage kids who are abused to report this. We need to come up with innovative ways of reporting child abuse cases. Like we have apps. Why can't we have an app where kids can report abuse so that they are feeling safe and they know that the matter will be taken forward? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us today. That was psychologist Noxolo alongside Marjorie Masoha, representative from the Department of Education, as well as social media analyst Lerato Sambo. Thank you once again to our studio guests. That's where we leave it for today. You can share your comments or ideas by dropping us an email, theinsight.co.za. For more insight, join us again next week as we dissect topics of interest to you. From me and the team, it's goodbye.